What's up, you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre. Welcome back to the channel and this Marvel Avengers video, and today we're going to be breaking down Iron Man, how his abilities work, and the best ways to utilize him on the battlefield. In my opinion, Iron Man is the best Avenger in the game right now, with unmatched versatility given the 3 weapons built into his suit. They not only give you access to different ranged abilities, but also change up how your ground combos work. And this allows you to change up how you want to play on the fly and gives you unmatched capacity to react to the changing situations that you will constantly encounter in this game as new enemies spawn on a regular basis. Now, if you guys learned something from this video, drop a like on it. I really appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Let's try to get up to 20 likes on this one. And getting right into it, let's talk about those different weapon systems equipped in Iron Man's suit. That's actually what his intrinsic meter is tied to. Using the different weapons drains your intrinsic meter, either through your heavy attacks or through your aimed ranged attacks. These will drain it, and if it goes empty, you will not be able to use your ranged attacks or heavy attacks anymore, and you'll have access to only your light attacks. So you'll have to pay close attention to this meter as you're in the middle of battle. You have 3 weapons built into your suit, but only one is unlocked right at the start, and those are your standard repulsors. And these are your kind of middle of the road weapons. They do some decent damage and decent stun, and they don't cost very much energy to use. They also fire very quickly compared to the lasers or the micro missiles. However, since they don't excel at any one particular job, I don't actually find myself using the repulsors very often, instead relying on my lasers and micro missiles to do the specific jobs that each of those weapons excel at. The micro missiles do tons of damage and do a lot of impact. They send their enemies flying, which is really powerful. It's really good for interrupting enemies who are about to attack you. And they also have some incredible tracking properties that we'll talk about a little bit later in this video that are beyond powerful. Then we have the lasers, and these inflict a ton of stun, which is what you need if you want to get takedowns on enemies. That's the white bar you see beneath their base health bar. And when you fill that up, they're stunned, not only sitting still for a little while, not doing anything in the fight, but they're also open for a takedown, which with special masteries can grant you different orbs that you might want to get. And it's also just a great way to inflict a ton of damage on a single enemy. And not only that, be invincible while you're doing it. You are completely invincible while you're doing takedowns. And so I find myself using the lasers actually the most often. Therefore, my personal recommendation to any new Iron Man player wondering where to put their skill points at first, skip the repulsor skill tree, get at least the basic laser attacks and the laser power attacks, and definitely completely fill up your melee skill tree to start. It includes the power dive attack as well as this uppercut attack, which is a perfect setup for the power dive. I find myself using those 2 melee attacks the most often. The power dive especially is a great way to enter a fight. It guard breaks everybody that was in the area, and then you can just start wailing all the people who were stunned by your amazing entrance. So my personal way that I use Iron Man is I will stay back just outside of the range of the fight, laying down as much firepower as I can, using up my entire intrinsic meter. If there's somebody that's ready for a takedown, I'll go ahead and do it, but otherwise I go ahead as soon as I'm done with my intrinsic meter, I will enter with my dive bomb, start wailing on people, get my meter back up, and then put out some more firepower. And I'm also ready to switch weapons if I need to. Like this exosuit is coming at me, so I pulled out my rockets to inflict more damage instead of the small amount of damage that I generally get from the laser beam. And that's just talking about what we can do on the ground. Of course, Iron Man can fly and therefore has some flight-based combos, but his weapons also have some special abilities in the air too. Each of these weapons has some sort of auto-aiming feature, and they can all shoot other projectiles out of the sky. The repulsors are kind of the most difficult to use You have to have your target within that small circle to get the auto aim feature to work. But they do a decent amount of damage and can fire really fast. Now, next up, my favorite is actually the lasers, and the auto tracking feature for the lasers goes across your entire screen. You can see me fly through this compound and just sweep through, holding down my right trigger, destroying every single turret in sight within literal seconds. And this is probably one of the best ways you can use Iron Man to help out your team, is flying around at the beginning of these fights in these areas that have turrets all over the place and wipe them out. And then in addition to that, using your rockets in flight. If you just tap the trigger, it dry fires a rocket straight into space. But if you hold down the trigger, you start locking onto any target that's on your screen. And once you line up 4, you can release it and it will shoot all of those rockets and they will follow those enemies. And the tracking on it is ridiculously impressive. Watch this clip here where I lock onto a teleporting enemy and the missile follows them after they teleport. I was blown away by this. I got the lock on the guy, fired the missile, but he teleports away. However, the missile makes a hard right and actually chases the guy to the spot that he teleported to. And this is also, in addition to the turrets, fighting these ranged guys on the outskirts of any battle is definitely one of the best ways you can use Iron Man in combat. Everybody knows how annoying it is to be constantly harassed by these projectiles coming at you from off screen, so I use it as my personal mission for Iron Man to hunt these baddies down and destroy them. That tracking that I was talking about earlier also applies to your micro missiles that you can fire. I locked onto this guy, then kind of lost him after he teleported, but after I fired the missile, it still found him where he teleported to, even though he went completely off of my screen. So definitely keep the micro missiles in mind when it comes down to hunting down the peacekeepers, wherever you might find them. Now that we've talked about all of Iron Man's basic attacks, let's talk about Iron Man's heroic abilities, starting with that support heroic called Arc Overload. And at its base level, it gives you a supercharge of your intrinsic ability for 10 seconds. That gives you not only infinite ability to use any of your ranged or heavy attacks, but it also increases the damage of them by 20%. And if you pick a certain specialization with it, it also vastly increases your ability to stun enemies. Right after that, we have the Assault Heroic, and that's the Unibeam, a super powerful beam of destructive energy that comes straight out of Iron Man's chest. And important to note on this one is that you don't actually have to use all of it. If you let the button go early, you can stop using it and conserve your energy. Do be careful trying to unibeam enemies with high dodge ratings though, like this Stiletto bot who managed to avoid a huge amount of the damage from my attack. And then finally, in the ultimate category, we have the Hulkbuster, a giant extra suit of armor that not only takes all the damage for you, but also can deal out huge amounts of damage as well. Can pretty much wipe the floor with any enemy in the game, and also lasts a tremendous amount of time. You can also bail out of this early if you want to by tapping the L1 button before it's done. And then not only that, you can actually put this Hulkbuster suit out for someone else to use. If you hold down your L1 and R1 trigger, you'll see a circle on the ground. And wherever that circle spawns, the Hulkbuster suit will be waiting. Any one of the heroes can walk up to this suit, hold square, and take it over and feel the power of the Hulkbuster as if you were Iron Man. And what makes the Hulkbuster so cool compared to any other ultimate ability is it gives Iron Man the special skill of accessing any kind of the ability locked rooms, like these secret panels that Iron Man and Black Widow can type into and access secret rooms. But you also have those strong doors that Hulk and Kamala and Thor can break through, while the Hulkbuster can smash straight through those doors as well. So Iron Man is the only hero that's capable of accessing both of these special kinds of doors. Now that we've talked about all of Iron Man's abilities, especially that powerful Hulkbuster, I want to give you a specific build, a set of choices you can make on your skill tree to maximize your ability to farm those heroic orbs from your enemies and get into your Hulkbuster suit on a regular basis. First, under the Arc Overload specialization, you want to pick the EMP. It deals a ton of stun damage to nearby enemies and makes them instantly able to have takedowns performed on them. And of course, you want the EMP amplifier to go with that, which increases the distance of it by 30%. Under the Unibeam, you want to pick the Precision Refractor, which increases the duration of that beam by 3 entire seconds, which pairs very well with the Energy Condenser. This allows you to harvest heroic orbs from enemies defeated by your beam, and those extra 3 seconds really make a huge difference in getting that damage out. Of course, you want the Stun Mastery because you want to be able to perform stuns, get those takedowns, and under Takedown Mastery, have to have that heroic takedown mastery so you can spawn those heroic orbs. It's vital for this. You can pick the Weapon Efficiency Mastery so you can decrease the amount of energy it takes for you to use your laser attacks that you're going to be using to stun those enemies. And then of course you want the Laser Mastery, which increases the stun damage for those laser attacks by 20%, a huge increase on already massive stun damage. The specialization that decreases the cost of the aimed laser isn't necessary, but you do want that Laser Efficiency, which decreases the general cost of them by 10%. For that specialization, I actually prefer the Rocket specialization. It gives target guidance to your basic rocket and doubles the usefulness of that weapon. Like, hands down, best pick for that slot. For any of the other slots, you can pretty much choose what you want to, but as far as the intrinsic boost, I picked Stun because I'm going to be stunning a ton of people anyway. But you can pick whatever you want for either of those others. If you want your Hulkbuster to do any of the other specific specializations, you can definitely select those, or whatever you want for your intrinsic or defensive abilities. But the ones that I listed on your screen will maximize your ability to stun enemies and get those heroic orbs. Basically, how I do is, if I don't have any of my hero abilities, I use my lasers to stun a bunch of people, get some takedowns on. I will use my Arc Overload, the EMP, get some takedowns on. If there's enemies that are low next to me, I'll use my Unibeam, kill them, get heroic orbs from them, and then get in my Hulkbuster and then just repeat the process. As soon as I'm out of my Hulkbuster, I'm on the hunt to get more takedowns, to get more heroic orbs, so I can get in that Hulkbuster right away again. I don't know about you guys, but with all of those factors combined, that makes me feel like Iron Man is the best hero in the game right now. Not that the other heroes aren't fun to play, everybody is extremely fun to play, but as far as actual gameplay and abilities on the battlefield, Iron Man is the most versatile and the most well-rounded. And I can't wait to share with you some of the special gear that comes with his abilities. Once you get into the top tier, you start unlocking some really cool special gear for all of these heroes. So if you want to see that, make sure you stick around, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. And remember to, hit that like button as well. In the meantime, I'm not amazing, I'm just Meaty Yogurt, and I'm out.